That's
the best part about owning your own business is the people. The worst part about owning your own business is the people.
Is the people. I hear it all the time.
So a lot of times on here we have guests. Today what we're going to do is we're going to go back and forth talking about topics that we have been approached by. People have asked you, people have asked me, things like that. So last time we talked about health and money.
Yes, and this time we're going to talk about people and relationships. And if there's anything that you have to be good at, especially as a business owner,
yes, right.
is what? It's people
and relationships. And
That's
the
it.
best part about owning your own business is the people. The worst part about owning your own business is the people.
Is the people. I hear it all the time.
Yeah.
And I'll probably ask you all these questions
Sure.
all the time. But how do you determine who to associate with?
So the people, your reference group is 95% of your success. But the people that you associate with, Luke, are not going to shove you into a dark alley to do drugs. They're not going to shove you into a bank to get loan. They're not going to shove you.
That's good.
They're going to gently nudge you. So we live in Alabama.
Yep.
We go to the Gulf Coast. We sit on the beach. That's what we do. So
You love to do
I
it.
love it. I absolutely love it.
love
So
the beach.
here's the best analogy I've heard is you go out to the ocean with your kids, with your spouse, by yourself. You sit in a float. You just start to relax. And then all of a sudden, 20 minutes later, you are 100 yards down the beach and you don't even realize it because the current has just nudged you down just a little bit.
It's kind of scary when you think
It's
about it.
very, very scary. And that's the way friends are.
Yeah.
Friends and the people that you associate with, they're not going to push you. They're going to gently nudge you in that direction. And pretty soon, you're not going to realize you're in a bad position or sometimes in a good position, depending on who you hang out with. If they eat bad, you're going to eat bad.
Yeah.
If they don't exercise, you're probably not going to exercise.
Yeah.
And when you hang out with negative people, you're going to typically have at some point some negativity. And if you hang out with positive people, you're going to have some positivity.
Yeah.
So figuring out those people is extremely important.
What's the old saying? You hang around with dogs, you get up with fleas. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Show me your, I love
it.
how Pastor Chris, he's our pastor. So he says, show me your friends, I'll show you your future.
That's right.
Which is honestly a staple that I've always lived by because I had like an opportunity in college to go two different ways. You probably had the same. I hear you talk about it all the time.
Yep.
You've got those partiers.
Yep.
The ones that like to go out, hang out late at night, drink. I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Because, I would wake up the next morning if it was game day or
Sure.
it was practice, I would struggle. But chose the friends who were like, man, these guys are trying to do it the right way. I don't know if they figured it out yet, but they're trying to do it the right way.
Sure.
Yeah. So anyways, so that leads me to another question. And I hear you talk about it often, but there's 3 types of friends. So what are those types of friends?
Right.
Why do you need them? Talk a little bit about that.
So the 3 types of friends are this.
Yeah.
There's a 3-minute friend. A 3-minute friend is someone that's great to chit-chat with. In the hallway, there's tons of people in this building that I'm a 3-minute friend with.
Yep.
I sit and I love talking to them and sitting waiting on coffee. Talking to them in the hallway, what's up? Ask about kids and things like that. They are great people.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend 3 hours with them.
Wait, why is that?
I just don't. I know they're probably good human beings.
Yeah.
Interests probably don't align. They don't have a same thought process as I do as far as like progression and success and doing things that way.
That's great. That's great. So it wouldn't really benefit you to hang out with them for 3 hours.
It's not going to. And
That's great. That's a
some
great
people view
point.
that as selfish. I'm sorry, but
I don't think it's selfish.
Yeah.
I think it's you have your priorities aligned.
Right.
Yeah.
You got a 3-minute friend, then you got a 3-hour friend. What's a 3-hour friend? A 3-hour friend is someone you want to come over to the house, watch ball, invest in them, sit down, ask them hard questions. Let them ask you hard questions. Get to know them. You love them. You talk to them on the phone. You text back and forth with them. You share funny things with. You share serious things with. They're a 3-hour friend. You can get things from them. They can get things from you. You can give to them in a way. You can be a great influence on them. They can be a great influence on you. They're good, solid people.
That's great.
But at some point, you think to yourself, you don't get wore out with them, but you're just like, hey, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good.
absolutely, yeah.
Then you transition into the 3-day friends. These are the people. These are the people that you don't get tired of.
That's great.
You love them, they love you, but they also give to you. They share good things. They challenge you. So I had a meeting today at 10 o'clock with one of my best friends in the world, and he just sat there and asked me, hey, can you help me with this?
Wow.
And I just said, yeah, sure. Tell me what to do. And sometimes I don't even have to ask that question. But you
Yeah.
get into those relationships where you can vacation with somebody.
Uh-huh.
You can go camping if you're a camper. You
Oh,
can
yeah.
spend extended amounts of time with their spouses. That's huge. And the kids can hang out together. But you have to find those people that you love being around and they love being around you.
Yeah.
That's huge. They love being around you.
Yeah.
And I feel like as business owners, we have to find these people that are doing success and doing business like we want to do it.
That's great.
And also here's the thing too, and you'll learn this as you start to have kids. You see people that you see and know and are parenting great. Find those people and hang out with those people because you need to see how they're parenting.
Yeah.
You need to be at 3-hour friends, and then at some point try to be three-day friends with those people so you can see inside of what they're doing with their kids.
And you can learn from them.
You can learn so much. You learn so much just from watching how they handle adversity with a kid that's raising hell or pitching a fit or whatever.
Yeah.
The relationships that you see. I'm just going to use us for example because it's easy.
Right.
You see Thomas and Jackie interact, and you like the way that our marriage is.
It's great.
You can tell it's not fake. You can tell that there's a little fuss there, but they're good people. So those pockets of they may be, and the business part of it may be different than the parenting part of it.
Sure. Absolutely.
I think that you pull the best things from different people.
Right.
Because those people are killing it in these certain areas.
So true. And give me an example. So I'm not going to make you give me an example of a 3-hour friend.
Yeah.
But give me an example of like a 3-day friend. Who's somebody that you and Jackie, you love spending time with them. Sure. You love going to the beach. You love hanging out with kids. You love going to the games. Yeah. Like, who is a friend and why are they that 3-day friend?
For me, one of our 3-hour friends is Mark and Jill Pettis. You know, a great example is during 2020. Yeah. Mark leaves the driveway. He'd been hanging out, and there were a bunch of people at the house. And he gets in the car and picks up the phone and says, "Hey, I found a trip to Mexico." And this is in the height of COVID. This is June of 2020. Yeah. And I'm like, "Dude, are they even letting people in?" He said, "They started letting people in 3 days ago." And so he says, "Do you want to go?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, we're in." I'm like, "Yeah, we're in." I'm like, "When?" He goes, "Monday." And I'm like, "What? Yes, we're going." So yeah.
You just picked up everything.
4 days later.
Oh,
we spent a day and a half arranging the kids.
Hey, them flights were cheap, weren't they?
They were so cheap. There was nobody there. It was crazy. But great. Mark and Jill are 3-day friends for us. We can go and do with them.
I love that. Yeah.
We don't get tired of them. They don't. I hope they don't get tired of us. The Pattersons and the Roberts, they're friends from Tennessee. Okay. And I'll say this: you have great friends in high school, and a lot of those will pass. We talked about this. You know, I got 1 or 2 friends from high school. Right. You have friends from college that you build relationships with because you spend time with them. Whether you're out, you spend the night with all those different things. But the friends that you make while raising kids are the friends that you will have for an extremely long time. Wow. Because it takes a village. Yeah. When you're over having dinner and they get on to your kids for doing something they shouldn't do, and you get on to their kids for doing something you shouldn't do. Yeah. So the Pattersons and the Roberts, John Patterson and Sarah Patterson, John Roberts and Crystal Roberts, are some of our best friends. I own 2 apartment complexes with John Patterson. My wife's best friend is probably Crystal Roberts. And so we go skiing with them. We go to, we've been to Mexico with them. We do a lot, and we ask advice from them.
It's great.
I call John and talk about business stuff. I prayed for John. He's got an interview at work. They've been from W-2 employees to business owners in the last year, and they called us asking questions about different things.
Wow. Okay.
So those are good just 3 examples of 3-day friends for us.
And if anybody is great at relationships, it is you. And I think there might be somebody out here that is listening to it. There might be a young person, because honestly, a lot of Generation Zers have a hard time connecting. So a lot of Generation Zers might have a difficult time with building that 3-hour, 3-day relationship. Sure. Yeah. So what would be your advice to them, knowing what you know, doing what you've done for so many years? Yeah. What would be your advice to them to break out of that 3-hour friend or 3-minute friend into that 3-day friend? What would you tell them to do?
There's 2 things that I would tell to do. Number 1 is be a great question asker. Good. Because Jay Abraham tells a story about this guy was sitting in a bar in a foreign country. and he sat at the bar with this guy that was extremely wealthy, extremely successful. And this one guy who was just a dude looked at this extremely wealthy guy and he just started asking questions. And he said, by the end of the 3-hour conversation, the guy that was extremely successful, that did nothing but talk for 3 hours, looked at him and said, "You're the most fascinating person I've ever met."
Wow.
When in reality, the guy, all he did was ask questions.
Yeah.
People love to talk about themselves
So
subconsciously. So number one, be a great question asker.
good.
Number two, in order to have great friends, you have to be a great friend.
Yeah.
And what you need to determine is what makes those people click. Are you a gift giver? If you're a gift giver, you're probably a gift receiver. Are you acts of service? What's your love language is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And feed into that. You hear the term all the time around here, lean into that. Like, be a great friend to that person.
Yeah.
Use the skills that you have, the things that you do well, and lean into whatever that is. So number one, be a great question asker. Number two, be a great friend to them in order for them to be a great friend to you.
That's great. And so moving into a little bit about, we talked about relationships, but now you have to be really good at reading people. You have to be. So like that's from a hiring standpoint, from people that you want to hang around and all that stuff. And I've heard often on this podcast, man, I've been introduced to some incredible people, and just hear you oftentimes hint at, talk about, and a lot of the owners that you have sitting at this table, business owners, they talk about how they love to hire athletes. Mm-hmm. That's like a general theme for all these business owners, and how they honestly become great business owners. So talk a little bit about that. Why do you want to hire an athlete who played collegiate athletics?
I think that there's something special about someone that's not only got a college degree, but they've got a college degree while also playing a sport. Because college, I don't really know how demanding college was because I played sports in college, but playing sports in college is extremely demanding on top of going to class and doing all the things and having a life.
Right.
So if you can manage that well, you probably can manage life pretty well.
That's great. It's very structured too.
It is.
Very structured.
And you learn a lot from that. You learn that you got to go eat this time and work out this time and practice all these things. Jen Ryan mentioned it. Mm-hmm. Jen Ryan started and bid multiple companies. Jen Ryan mentioned it.
Yep.
Lou Dempsey mentioned it. He owns an auction company in Rome, Georgia. And he mentioned, he had just hired Tommy Atha, who's a former high school coach and a former college athlete.
Oh, wow.
Reagan Phillips talked about it. She talked about it. Justin Kraft, who we're going to have on soon. He hires, I think, exclusively college athletes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I think 85% of his office is college athletes. Hey, one of the girls that's one of the assistants, she was a college cheerleader. So like he is so deep.
He's finding a way to hire these collegiate athletes.
Yeah. So I think the thing for me and why this is so important is because in athletics and in business, there's a switch that goes off. There's a fun component to playing sports.
That's great.
Because I love throwing the football and I love running routes with Tegan and I loved it in college. But at some point, there's a switch that has to go off where you go into competitive mode.
Yeah.
And you talk about horses and they put these blinders on so they can't see. At some point in business, you got to go into a blinders focus mode, just like athletes had to do. I remember we were playing the University of Florida the first game of the year.
Yep.
And I remember the guy's name that was playing running back. I remember looking back at him, Theron Dudley. I hadn't said that guy's name in 20 years. And I remember trying to call the check the play, and he was standing 4.5 yards from me, and he could not hear me.
Really?
It was the loudest. It was Florida's Ben Hill Griffin Stadium is louder, in my opinion, than LSU Stadium.
Oh, my goodness.
It was nuts. So
wow.
Yeah. So
Death Valley's crazy.
Death Valley's crazy, but for us, that was what it was.
Loud,
But at some point, those business owners have to go into a mode. I'm refusing not to win. I'm just refusing not to win. And with that, a lot of times those business owners / former athletes or former athletes that are now employees, they elevate other people.
Yeah.
You hear all the time.
That's great.
People like Kobe, people like Jordan. Mm-hmm. How the other guys on the floor did not want to let him down. And so, in essence, what those guys were doing, the Jordans and the Kobes of the world, they were elevating the people around them. You hear people talk. You hear Julian Edelman talk about all the time. It's hilarious.
I love
hearing Julian.
Bill Belichick. He's like,
great. But Julian talks about Tom Brady and how he elevated so many people.
Yep.
He just brought them up. That's what killers do, and that's what I think you get when you get an athlete, because what happens with athletes is that switch gets developed.
So true.
It gets developed over time, because what they've done was what most athletes have done. If you've made it through college sports, you have spent a lot of time being uncomfortable.
That's so true. Yeah.
And if you can spend time being uncomfortable, get this, on purpose.
Yeah.
You can do things that are going to be uncomfortable in life. In business, like I hate sitting down and doing email. I hate sitting down and going through Slack. I hate sitting down and going through Monday. But at some point, I got to put my phone on Do Not Disturb, put my blinders on, focus in, and just do those tasks, because I know that those tasks have to be done.
Right.
And I'm the one to do them.
Yeah.
But I don't like doing them. And I tell people all the time, just because you're a business owner doesn't mean it's butterflies and rainbows all the time. It's hard crap.
Yeah.
That's why you got to do something A, you're good at, and B, that you enjoy and love.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be your be-all, end-all
Right.
passion. I think that's a myth.
Yeah.
But it's got to be something you're good at, and got to be something you can succeed at.
Yeah, and you got to be willing to do the hard things. And that's something that you're incredibly disciplined on, is just doing the hard things. Like you're talking about Kobe.
Yeah.
Okay, one of the things that made him who he was, such a great athlete. I was actually listening to a podcast the other day, and they were telling a story about Kobe and how Kobe called up Allen Iverson and was like, hey, bro, what club you going to?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to this club.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Hey, I'll drop you off. And so he puts him in the car, takes Allen Iverson to the club, and he drops him off. He said, hey, man, you coming? He said, no, I'm going to work out.
Yeah.
Like, so when people are doing these fun things and you want to, you want to go over here and you want to go to do this and you want to go do that. But what set Kobe apart was the ability to do the hard things. And so with that being said, how do you embrace, so somebody out here, the biggest thing, the hardest thing is starting. Doing the hard things. How do you start? How do you go from not doing the hard things to doing the hard things? Because you talk about this switch.
Yeah.
So how do you activate that switch? How do you turn it on?
So I do hard things daily.
Talk about this.
The first thing I do every morning, I walk in the kitchen, I drink my water, I go outside.
What's in the water?
Sea salt, sea salt,
it's
lemon.
important.
Sea salt. So
Yeah.
I wake up, sea salt and lemon, or pig salt and lemon in the water. I drink about 20, 25 ounces. I drink it before I do anything. And then I get into a cold tub. And I know cold tubs are the fad right now, and there are a lot of benefits to it, from a endorphin rush, from a testosterone boost, to okay. So I get up. First thing I do is go to the cold tub. There are a lot of benefits to it, from an endorphin rush to a testosterone boost, to there's a huge immunity boost to that as well.
Yep.
But I'll tell you what, I look over there and that thing's 37 degrees. It doesn't matter how much you get used to it. It's hard.
It's hard.
So I get in that thing every morning and I get those benefits, but I'm doing something that's extremely hard.
Yeah.
That's one of the things. Physically is huge with me.
Yeah.
I think that it's really, really important to be physically disciplined.
Yep.
Andy Elliott is amazing at talking about how fit people will make more money.
Wow.
And how fit people will get jobs and make more sales, because there's something to shaking someone's hand that looks you in the eye, that's got a lot of confidence, that's extremely fit, because the person across from you knows that they've done a lot of work. There's a lot to that. That's a
good point. Yeah.
So I love to have these hard things. Like, a group of us talked about Mark earlier. We hiked the Grand Canyon. It was extremely hard, from 30 degrees to 90 degrees back to 50 degrees, all within like 8 hours. So we hiked the Grand Canyon rim to rim. Training for that was hard, because we trained in Alabama in July.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Going to the gym when you don't want to.
Yeah.
It's
hard.
It's very hard.
It's hard.
Because some
you
days
lay down on the couch. It's been a long day at work. You're
Yes.
tired. You want to just flip on some TV.
Or you went to bed late the night before.
That's right.
If you're a morning person.
Yep.
So it is doing those things. And I say this all the time, put your phone on Do Not Disturb and do things that have to get done.
Yeah.
Those are hard things. If you can find something hard to do every day, I'm not talking about back-breaking work. I'm talking about mentally, physically, something that's extremely hard to do every day. You slowly and consistently set yourself up, because here's the thing.
Yeah.
Consistency, it will trump just about everything.
That is so true.
I heard someone say that this was so good. He said, consistency will not guarantee success, but not being consistent will almost for sure guarantee not being successful.
Dang. Let that sit.
That was great. That was great. And it was so true. Sometimes you just have to put your head down, and there are days where you're going to just check the box.
Absolutely.
There are days.
But those days make you so much better.
They do. You may go to the gym or go to somewhere that you didn't feel like you got much done, but you went, and mentally you got the thing done. So the hard things, I think, they're extremely important for us.
Yeah. And I want to just give you a shout out real quick, because you inspired me, because I came on the team, gosh, has it been 6 months now?
Yeah, it's almost
6 months. Yeah. And you just would always, you instilled that in me. You were like, hey, you got to do the hard things daily, got to do the hard things. And you honestly inspired me, because you do the hard things daily. Even when you don't want to, you get up. I saw you doing the cold tub. I was like, man, I'm going to do the cold tub. Like I saw you doing working out every day. I was like, man, I'm going to work out every day. But one of the things that you inspired me to do, I was like, you know what? I hate running. Hate running. I was a baseball player. We didn't run a lot.
You ran for punishment.
Ran for punishment.
Yeah.
Poles.
Sure.
That wasn't even that far, right? And so I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm going to train because I hate doing this. This is extremely hard for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to run a half marathon.
That's good.
And I'm going to do it. And so every day, training for it.
Yeah.
Training for it. Running long distances. And I hated it, but I'm getting better at it every day. And I'm choosing to do it. And that was a lot of what you instilled in me. So I appreciate you so much for that. But I know as we wrap up today and just talking about all these things that are super beneficial, what is something that you would tell our audience listening? Like, what's a hard thing that they could do? So you do an ice tub. That might not be for somebody, right?
Sure.
But what's something that they could do? Because honestly, I wanted to do an ice tub, but I didn't have an ice tub.
Sure.
So what's something that they could do?
I think physically, you need to find something that's hard. I don't run. I don't enjoy running, but running makes me uncomfortable in a way of physically my hips and my knees hurt, and I may be running wrong. I don't know.
Yeah.
Find something that is uncomfortable, that's hard, and just do it. You don't have to kill yourself, but you got to get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You got to get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That would be one of the most important things, and let it build. Let it be something that you do today. Let it build and get just a little bit better tomorrow. Turn the ship slow. I tell people all the time, just start. Just make my dad was an alcoholic before he passed away. Yeah. He went to AA, battled that a long time. He used to always say something. He goes, do the next right thing. Just do the next right thing. And I talked to a guy this morning, one of my best friends. He was on the phone, and he's extremely overweight right now. And I told him, I said, listen, get up and move. You just got to do it today. Yeah. You just got to do it today. Yeah.
And so one of the hardest things with that, I truly believe that one of the hardest things in starting is the comparison game.
Yeah.
So, and I know I've heard you talk about this a lot. Like, don't compare yourself. You ain't got to be wearing what they're wearing. No. You ain't got to be doing what, like, you need to. And so oftentimes what inspires you is like, man, Thomas looks great. I want to look like that. So, hey, what are you doing? Well, here's what I do daily. But then they don't get those results right instantly, because we live in such an instant gratification kind of world. Yeah. So how do you get past that mentality and that comparison game?
Sure.
How do you do that?
You can't compare your today's journey with someone's last 15 years journey. You got to be able to put in perspective that Johnny has been exercising for this long. Right. And that's why he looks the way he looks. Or Justin, for example, who's a great friend of mine. Justin kills it from a business perspective, financially, business relationships. God knows so many people. But Justin's about 8 years older than I am, and Justin started business at 23. Wow. So sucker's got a lot of years on me, just consistently doing the right thing. Yeah. People want to get rich quick. Yeah. People want to have the best body quick.
Mm-hmm.
The best thing we can do is just wake up in the morning and be the best we can be that day.
Yeah.
The best we can be that day. Business, financial, family, spousal, parenting, physically, whatever. Just be the best you can be that day. You just got to do it for today.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. And then just reset the thing the next day. Don't think about tomorrow. Just be great today.
Yeah.
And it's really hard for some people because they don't get results. But just think about, well, what's the best thing to do today? What can I do to push myself today? And just try to get a little bit more uncomfortable every day.
Yeah. And that's one of the hardest things, I think, for people today is, and we hit on it just a second ago, but living in that instant gratification kind of world is that you see, man, this guy's making all this money. This person's doing all this. But, like, I love your story because it's like you busted your tail for so many years. Okay. And then when you were 32 years old, you had accumulated all this money. And you're like, hey, I'm going to go start this business with it. But you took that hard work, the things that you were doing every day, you applied it to this, and then you grew your wealth.
Yep.
And I think that's so key, is so important, and it's so good for our listeners to hear that, like, consistently doing the hard things, whether it be an ice tub, whether it be this, that, or the other. Pick it and go in, whether it be running a half marathon, marathon, or whatever. Pick it and go all in.
Totally agree.
Yeah, so that's great. Well, I know that we're wrapping up time today, so anything else that you would like to say?
I'm good. People just pick your friends. Pick your friends wisely.
It's great.
And do some hard stuff today.
It's great.
All right. Thanks.